Hello, everyone, and welcome to Otaku Talk. I like to call this segment League of Otaku. Here with me today, I have none other than Tyrant King Kuma. Make sure you check him out. Check out his YouTube channel; has really great content. So we are meeting because right now there's a bit of a hiatus, a break, not a hiatus. There's a 1 week break between this bombshell that Oda dropped last week, and that was that the entire world of One Piece is going to end up undersea. It's going to either flood, get submerged. We don't quite understand the mechanism that is going to take place yet. I assume that Vegapunk is going to tell us more about it in 1114, as well as maybe some information on the Ancient Kingdom if we're lucky, but how things have been going, I don't think we're gonna be that lucky. But but yeah, so I just thought this was a really great time to just sit back and recontextualize the entirety of what's been going on in One Piece right now. Now knowing what we know, that the world is going to I'm just gonna say drown. Uh
Essentially.
it really recontextualizes everything in the story, and now we can start looking at things completely different. So yeah, before we get into it, Mr. Kuma, you got anything to say?
For one, if y'all don't play League, start playing League. It's amazing. But I mean, the crazy thing about what we're getting from this chapter is that this is the iceberg of what he's going to reveal. This is the first sentence of the giant reveal we're gonna get. So like we have all these theories already. Just imagine what's gonna happen as we get more of those chapters. And like we know Oda, he's not gonna just explain everything at once. So he's gonna hit us with like 2 or 3 more chapters of just mysteries. And like I'm so excited for that. I cannot wait for that.
Absolutely. So how do we want to start this off? Let us start with, there's so many ways to tackle it. All right. Let us just start off point blank period with like every sign that we have, every sign, illusion that we have had that this is happening. So I guess we could start the most obvious one. The most obvious one obviously is Ennis Lobby, right? Actually, sorry, not Ennis Lobby, Water 7. Because of the Aqua Laguna. So one of the earliest situations we've run into with like water levels changing was actually not just Water 7, but Long Ring Ringland, right? I always like tongue tie myself saying that.
It's
Long
such
Ring
a weird
Ringland?
because it's like long ring. I can't say if it's long ring longland, long ring ringland.
Long Ring Longland. Long Ring Longland. There we go. And so we found out that the on that island, tides would move in and out, revealing the island. And so at certain time, and there were nomadic animals there. And so at certain times, you were stuck on the island you were at, and then at other times you were able to transport yourself to different islands. And something I think we also found out during that arc is the well, not during that arc, but when we went to the Water 7 arc, is when those tides go in and out during with like Long Ring Longland, those are what caused the Aqua Laguna to happen in Water 7. So that's like one of the first examples we've seen of something taking place somewhere else having a tangible effect on something else somewhere else.
And I think that's a really clever piece because it's
Oda's
it's
the man.
it's so early. It's so early.
Yes.
And Long Ring is such like a passable part of the story. So many people forget about Long Ring, even though it's got like great moments. But I think that's where we get to Davy back, and people want to forget Davy back, so they always forget like that entire subset. But there's so much like content in that little piece by itself, and I think if you use that to build on like Aqua Laguna and stuff, it becomes a lot more important. Which I mean, a lot of arcs in One Piece that kind of do that, where they start off very somewhat like minuscule or like to the side, and then 500 chapters later, turns out
Way more
super
important. That's what I
important.
love. I know I sound like a broken record. I say this to you almost every time we have like one of these discussions, but like I truly believe that like the peak of One Piece, like when One Piece will have its like renaissance, is going to be when it's over. I think once One Piece is over, once we get the final reveal, and then we have just like what we're doing now, we have the context needed to recontextualize the whole story. When you go back and have your like your second, or for people like us, your like 20th read through, everything will hit different. Like you'll be reading parts that at the time when you read them were mundane, and then be like, oh my god,
It
was
all
that
makes
really there?
sense.
Yeah, was that really there this whole time? Did he like he already like he gave us the hits. We just had to like connect the dots, you know?
There's so many dots. There's so many dots.
So we talked about long long land. We talked about water 7. It's really cool right now. So Iceberg is already working, like we already have people in this world already trying to develop means of living on floating territories. So we have that. Isn't Thriller Bark is a moving island,
Yep.
right?
It's basically a giant floating boat that's an island.
We got the Baratier, which in the grand scheme isn't important, but they're going to be looked out for.
Oh yeah.
Like that, it's a good convenience for them.
They planned way far ahead.
Yeah, facts. What else? So like man-made. We got Laboon, we got Crocs and Laboon, and we're gonna be me and Kuma are gonna be talking about the Roger Pirates and the Shanks Pirates and stuff like that. I also really want to talk about Sky Islands, and I think and I've always thought like Pyrobluin or whatever, Pyrubian or whatever it's called. I'm gonna call it Pyrobluin. Um, was gonna be important to the story, and because that's not only how sky clouds are made, but also I believe how you get the Karaseki, the sea stone. And so I'm wondering if like during the use of like the mother flames in the past, if that's where a lot of sky islands were born from.
Oh, that's a good question.
So like what all that evaporation of the whatever and then forming. So like I'm really curious. Like it'd be really interesting if like they're like right above Ennis Lobby there was like an island and stuff like that. I want to know more about like why it's always day there and stuff like that, because like that's all well and good, but like scientifically, how does that make sense? Because of like the rotation of like the planet. I also love that to this day, we have never ever, correct me if I'm wrong, I could just be stupid. Have we ever been given a name for what fucking planet we're on?
No,
No.
we don't
No.
have a name for the planet or the moons, despite seeing representations of them a bunch of times. That's all
Exactly.
like I think the
Exactly.
closest
And
we've gotten is Verth.
I find that to be interesting. And once again, I think that I can't wait to just have my haha moment, we were right moment with Skypiea, because I've said a million times it's a microcosm of the entire series from beginning to end. I think almost everything you can find in that, and how, and like just like with how the treasure was in the sky, but also in the sky, it was actually underground in the sky. It's gonna be like that, where like the One Piece is probably gonna be in Davy Jones' locker in some kind of ancient civilization under the water. Davy Jones' locker, Atlantis, whatever you want to call it. There's going to be just some hidden ancient civilization that was like the first civilization to ever exist before the first ever flood. And then once they found out about the flood, they started like brainstorming and coming up with all manner of technology to help either fight the flood or circumnavigate the flood. And I think what we're going to find out with that is those are the ancient weapons. And that one of the big morals and lessons we've like been like learning and talking about throughout this entire freaking series is that like the weapons that you make and stuff, those, like, what they're used for might go against what they were created for. And so I feel like we're gonna have this moment where we find out that the ancient weapons were originally created to either aid Joy Boy or just forget Joy Boy, were just created in general to either try to mitigate or fight against the flooding or whatnot. And certain people, whether it be Emu or whatever, had nefarious plans and wanted to do other things with it, and their purpose was perverted.
Well, I mean, because Joy Boy was directly related to, I think, two of the ancient weapons, right? He knew about Poseidon.
Wait,
For sure.
what do you mean when you say directly related?
So the coming of Poseidon and the coming of Pluton all happened in the Void Century,
Hmm.
and Joy Boy was essentially more or less collecting and or because we don't know exactly the reason that these things were created, but Joy Boy was
Hmm.
setting things in motion like Noah, and he set Noah knowing about Poseidon. So it's like I don't know exactly why he would be one
Making
of the
another ship
proprietors.
when he has a ship going, like, yeah,
Yeah,
or sorry, Pluton.
because essentially we have Pluton, which is more or less a warship, and then you have Noah,
Yeah.
which is a savior ship.
And when we say warship, like, is that specifically, like, is that what they decided to call it, or was it always a warship, or is it just a ship that has great, like, power on it, and maybe like the weapons on it are made to destroy, like, the Red Liners? Like, you can use them for war, yes, but that's not their purpose.
It's probably closer to that. I mean, I think the blueprints make it look like a warship, but
Hmm.
its intended purpose is not really given.
Yeah, yeah, it's one of those things where it's open to interpretation, and most people, when they look at that, see a great and powerful weapon.
Because it would make sense why they would make it and then not use it because they made it thinking it would be something helpful, and then someone wants to use it for evil or corrupt purposes, and they end up keeping it locked up in Wano.
Now, here's a question I have, and because we're talking about ships, right? We're talking about ships. Arc Maxim, right? Once again, back to Skypiea being the microcosm of all of this, and like how everything's gonna play out. He ended up using that to go to space. How do you think space is going to play a role in this series? I truly, truly believe in my heart of hearts, like, that wasn't just some random thing Oda did, just had Enel fuck off to space, and that's never gonna be relevant again. Had that cover story, and just like had the automata. Like, there has to be more than meets the eye with that whole situation.
Well, the thing there is, I think what you said with the automata, where we know that the original ancient civilization was basically Egghead, where it
Hmm.
was some of the most advanced technology the world has ever seen. And that's kind of where you would get the idea of the automata, because where else would they come from and how else would they get to the moon? There's no idea of a creator on the moon. They just have and they have hieroglyphics of automata as well, meaning at some point when the ancient civilization disappeared, other people saw these creatures and didn't know what they were. So my assumption is that, you know, way back probably predating Void Century, we had access to move freely from whatever we're calling, One Piece Earth to the moon.
Hmm.
And essentially what Nanel did was he recreated that transport, which
Yes.
also happens to look very similar to the Noah, but a smaller version.
Yeah, absolutely. Something really cool with that cover story too was how conveniently he was able to use his power to power up all of the, like, the city in the moon. But I'm wondering if, like, a mother flame type device or some, like, nuclear reactor or whatever originally powered that city. And which brings me to a question. Do you think that as it stands right now, the creatures and races in One Piece are native to the One Piece world? Or do you think it's kind of like a long ring, long land, long range, long land example where like maybe it's no a nomadic experience, but on like a universal scale.
I think there are certain. I think there are obviously species that kind of existed originally, but that
Hmm.
adapted, like the Birkins, for example, who lived in Skylands and essentially grew wings, or there's another race that kind of adapted similar to how they do on Long Ring, where basically they take their surroundings and they adapt to it in not like super functional ways, but just
Hmm.
adapt to match where they are. Like
Yeah,
if I recall, the Birkins can't really fly, but they still have the
wings.
wings. And the same
It's
with
like a vestigial tail almost.
yeah, and like in Long Ring, they kind of they grow longer, but it doesn't
Yeah.
really have a suited purpose. I mean, especially like it kind of makes it harder when the waves come up for like them to move around and stuff. But like they adapt to where they are. So I think there are original species and then there's like an adaptive species.
I think that there is going to be something monumental at work with the races in One Piece. So several things. First of all, um, giants have been a big point of focus in the series for a really, really long time, and I think it's kind of a matter of the the world government and Yonko have both been funding experimentation to turn people into giants. And for a lot of times we thought it was for like war purposes, right? Like if we have these big beasts we could fight, but also that could possibly be a means of survival. Like look at San Juan Wolf, like he can literally stand in the ocean. So like that could be like, albeit like kind of like a extreme measure, could be one measure of self-preservation. But then another thing I was thinking about was so I said, what was it? It's making people giants is one measure I think we have going for us. And then what was the other thing that we have people trying to do a lot of in One Piece? Ah, yeah, you continue. It's gonna come back to me. You continue. I had 2 points and I forgot the first point.
All right, to build off of that, so we have the giants are one of the key races. We have giants, we have Lunarians, and more currently we have Buccaneers. And these three races are kind of like the ones that we kind of keep getting
Oh, I remember what I was gonna say now.
shown again and
Continue.
again and again. And we even have like the Lunarians being recreated with seraphims. Lunarians also being essentially gods of the Red Line at some point. So I think the Lunarians are going to come into play a lot more. I think the giants are obviously going to play a lot more with Elbaf and with basically because we had Kaido trying to create giants, we had Big Mom trying to create giants, we have the world government trying to draft giants, and even we have like Caesar working with multiple people trying to create this form of giantification. So it seems like having giants on your side one way or the other is
Vital.
yeah, it's what
Vital.
everyone's aiming for.
Yeah. So to piggyback off that, I remember what I was talking about, and that was the fact that humans in One Piece, it's really confusing what the hell is going on with the races. Like do we know if minks and humans can interbreed? Or like long arm tribe and like all the various species of like races can interbreed. I know we know fishmen can interbreed,
Yeah, I
and
think that's the only one I've gotten confirmation of. Like,
exactly.
I think, I think as far as like the long arm and long leg tribes, I think those are just more of a matter of being born with like an extra limb or like an extra appendage. But as far as
Yeah,
like,
exactly. You got the three-eyed. You have your Lunarians, and the point is, are they natural? So a handful of questions. One, are they natural creations? Are they evolutions? What does it mean to be a human? You might remember one thing I talked to you about was the confusion with like when Chopper uses his fruit, he doesn't become like what you would expect a typical human to look like. He looks like in almost all of his forms, even his like straight up human form, he looks like a hybrid.
yeah,
Like a really like a really hairy man, and I've always wondered like what does that mean? And then when he goes into his monster point, why exactly does he look like that? Is it some kind of broken awakening? Um, but like what does it mean to be human? And then like we have certain species that we know nothing about. So I remember I was talking to you about salvaging, right? And how I think that's going to be another important, really important aspect in the grand scheme of this series. And do you remember those two scavengers from Jaya? How they look like apes, like
Yep.
an orangutan? And I'm like, those guys were humans because they were like they were literally related to was it Noland?
Cricket.
They, weren't the three of them brothers?
Were they?
Like the two ape dudes and then Nolan's descent.
I think Cricket was just working
Cricket,
with
yeah,
them.
Cricket. Oh, okay.
Also, there's
Pulling it up right now.
okay. Yeah, it says surrogate son, so he not related, but they basically came together.
Okay. But yeah, I'm wondering like are they minks? Are they just humans that because we've seen numerous times where there are humans that just look like animals.
Yep.
But they're humans. Like it sometimes it's a gag. So like what's Oda trying to show us with that? Also with the fact that humans and fishmen can share blood. Like that's super weird. That's not something that like if you think about art there we can't just do that with like random things. We can barely do that with like other humans with like our types. But like let alone like a different like species of sorts.
Yeah, it's always very specific.
Yes. So I'm wondering like how it's gonna loop back around because in some way, shape, or form, every single pirate, I can't speak for the world government, but every single major pirate crew like Yonko, have their goal has been this like idea of like family and bringing people together. And it's like for what purpose? And at first I always thought it was like just like an individual desire from the captains. Big Mom wanted a family, and the reason she wanted that was because of her upbringing and like how the orphanage was her family and stuff like that. She wanted to kind of like recreate that. Kaido kind of wanted something like that in the same way, but I think he also wanted his family to be strong, that way that they could protect themselves. Because in a world where might makes right, like if you don't have the power to like fight for your like freedom and like make your like to shirk other people's rules, then you're gonna be screwed over. Whitebeard, his was the most honestly noble, maybe compared to Roger that we know of, where he was just like their dad. And I don't know. I feel like a lot of the other ones that it was kind of like they had this idea of family, but it was flawed. I don't know what the flaw with Whitebeard's was. Maybe Oda's like it's just a little creepy that everyone considers you their daddy. I don't know. I don't quite know what the flaw with Whitebeard's was, but there you have it. Then you had Roger, and obviously for obvious reasons, we don't know a lot about his crew. Haven't seen like a bunch of his crew.
I mean, as far as family goes, I think everyone it's such an idea of I think camaraderie for one,
Mhm.
but also yeah, I think each group is basically making their own family to stand against the world that opposes them. Because
Yes.
like Kaido had his whole setup. He had a very interlocked setup where he was in Wano by himself with his crew. No one came in, no one left. That was it. Big Mom has her island. She has Toddleland. Everyone stays in that island. You don't leave. You don't go unless Big Mom invites you.
Yep.
You know, Whitebeard, like you said, Whitebeard's kind of like the anomaly of it because he didn't have like a set place. He didn't have like a set ship. He was very much wherever you are, your family.
Yep.
And I mean, I think we can see that Whitebeard kind of his interest as far as like the world just wasn't there. Like he didn't really care about the things that the other Yonko care about. which would explain why he's kind of got this different setup of family.
I kind of like the idea that what might shape up to happen is because my thing is I've always wondered, I've always been curious, like, Oda, what is the point of this story? Like, what are you like? And when I say that, like, not what is the point of the story, but like, he's trying to tell us something. And I think there's a balance between chaos and order, justice and anarchy, law and order and stuff like that. And we've seen that Oda does not hate leaders and he doesn't hate governments. Like he's made that very clear. And so I think it might be a situation where maybe to bring back the like nomadic nature of Longland, maybe it's setting up a world where you have various different nations with and every single person on that in those nations has like want and desire. So you have like a nation of people that love weather, right? You have a nation of people that love to invent science. Well, nation of people that like medicine, a nation of people like Luffy that like to eat and like just stuff like that. And so it becomes a thing where like people can go to the places that best suit their like personalities and their desires. So that would be interesting, and they would all have charismatic leaders that didn't wish to like subsume like the people under them and like command them, but like allow them to like live in their like various truths and desires at optimal peace.
I mean, that's kind of what the revolutionaries are working at, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they're going to liberate these lands, but make sure that the lands keep who they are. Like,
Mhm.
you don't serve the Celestial Dragons level government, but you don't serve us or anybody. You exist here as your own. Do things on your own. Be your own leaders. Carry out your own craft. That's what we're about, making sure that you have the facilities to do that.
Absolutely. So back to the question I asked you earlier. Do we feel like most of the beings currently on this planet are from this planet? I personally am starting to think otherwise. That they got that it just seems so. So what's the voice century? 800 years? What is it?
Yeah, so I think it's 800 years from the main storyline. There was the
Hmm.
100-year gap. So like from 900 years ago, there was a 100-year gap, and then 800 years after that, we were in the present story.
Got you. So we are at this really weird place in One Piece where we're talking about like clones, cyborgs, pacifista and stuff like that. And if Vegapunk and all these scientists that we know of now are able to do all these incredible things, like even Vegapunk's like trying to make dragons and shit right now. Like, what exactly existed back then, and what were they capable of making? And I wouldn't be surprised if like there was some figure that did play God and create a bunch of these races. And but the point isn't to treat them as like artificial races, like kind of like the automata that we found in the other places, but they're like they're truly living, breathing like beings. But like what would the point of that be though? So
Interesting. I mean, one of the theories that I've had for a very long time is that the civilization during the Void Century, essentially, they're the reason this world has devil fruits.
mhm,
Basically, like you said, they were playing God and essentially
mhm,
created these subsets of divine power. Uh, but essentially, they have the drawback of being hated by nature for being man-made, essentially. So I think, in a way, they certainly could have been creating species as well. I think the idea of like experimentation, the idea of like taking the lineage factor and
mhm.
just messing with that to create all kinds of things is entirely a possibility. They could have created Lunarians at some point, and then we have the
Exactly.
science to recreate them.
Exactly. Exactly. Like there's so much more than meets the eye here. And like now that we know that the world is drowning, like that just adds another element of like why exactly is the devil fruit's weakness like that? Like water, like the thing that the inevitable like aqua purge that is going to happen, devil fruit users are powerless against. Like they're in the most screwed situation they could be in.
I think that the essentially the faction that created the devil fruit, if they are man-made, opposes the faction that created the ancient weapons and kind of has this idea of the world sinking. So like these are two opposing factions where they want to say, yeah, because we know that at some point Wano was open, and Wano, while Wano has Pluton like buried within the depths, Wano doesn't know anything about devil fruits. Wano has no idea what a devil fruit is, despite Lady Toki being the oldest known devil fruit user, having hers from 800 years ago in the Void Century. So we know that they existed, but for Wano to not know about it and then be closed off and then never know about it would mean there was an era where they didn't exist. And that has to be pre-Void Century.
Okay.
So my guess is that we have these ancient weapons to fight off this power they created. And these ancient weapons have the power to basically control the sea. Because they're all, well, we still don't know about Uranus, but so far Pluton and Poseidon are very sea related. You know, one, they're both under the sea right now, and two, their ideal purpose in the story so far is to help raise the sea level, whether it be Poseidon, you know, using the Sea Kings to raise it, or it be Pluton destroying the Red Line, you know, creating giant waves and such. We still don't know what Uranus's effect is, but
we're just kind of all guessing right now. Uranus is somehow related to the Mother Flame and the thing that appeared above the island before the Mother Flame was used.
Yep, because I think in the general sense of Uranus, it roughly translates to like sky god, and or almost translates to like a heavily demon, like a Doflamingo, but it deals heavily with the sky as opposed to Poseidon and Pluton, which deal with the sea. So it's like the one standout that could be, you know, the one we have hovering above us.
Absolutely. Yeah, so like to stay on topic with like just the world drowning, just like what aspects of the story have like changed now or have been like just completely like what else has been flipped on its head? Oh, great one. All right, what do you think is going on with Tequila Wolf?
Ah, yes, giant bridge. So that's an interesting one because we just know that the bridge is basically supposed to go on until it connects to itself, right? It's literally just supposed to be a giant bridge that connects the world together as one.
Wouldn't it essentially be like a bridge version of like the Red Line?
Yep, pretty much. But like
I didn't think it was supposed to connect to itself. I thought it was supposed to connect to like different islands, no? I mean, I do, now that I think about it, I do know that it's kind of very linear. So I guess like
I think it connects various islands, but essentially it comes back on itself. So like, you know, you make this bridge to connect each island, you know, you connect, and at some point you come back to start. I mean, it could be essentially the commoner's red line. Because from what we've known, the red line is always like dominated by some form of god, whether it be Lunarians in the past, celestial dragons now, someone with some kind of substantial power.
The big dog of the era.
Exactly. They kind of keep that red line in check. So Tequila Wolf seems like the more commoner route.
But what's the point? Do you think it's for like maybe it's something as mundane as transportation purposes, right? Because we're seeing right now with with Mary Joie having the siege right now. They're not able to get in or out food. So maybe like its a purpose is to make sure that during the next flooding that there's still means of transportation. But why not just use boats? Like what does the world government want to get out of this?
It honestly feels like less of a plan for a flood than it does for a plan. Because you would think, you know,
Yeah.
to some degree, if you plan on all these islands flooding,
What's
why
the
are
point
you,
of connecting them?
yeah, why are you building a bridge? Because
Yeah.
I mean, the bridge is gonna be underwater too. So
Also, yeah. Sorry, continue.
I was gonna say it just feels like it goes against the idea of them wanting to plan for a giant flood, in my opinion.
Exactly. And Tequila Wolf is a prison, correct?
It's well, it's basically being created by slaves. So
Yeah.
so basically it's all slave labor.
And so, like, here's my thing. This, I'm reading it right now. The bridge has been under construction for the past 700 years. Why not get like some with the like Pika Pika? Sorry, not Pika. That's not Pika. That's the white devil fruit. I was thinking about Pika. Whatever his devil fruit is.
Oh, his
Like,
assimilation fruit, his
yeah,
control, yeah.
or so like. Why is this being built by like regular ass people?
That's a really good question.
Giant ass bridge. We've seen people with like OP devil fruits able to like create like massive structures. Why does this have to be like perfectly like man-made?
I I honestly think it's got something to do with how Zunisha was given a punishment. This feels like a punishment. This feels like
Mm.
someone was like, I want you to build this bridge. I don't care what it does. I want you to build this bridge.
It needs to be done.
Exactly.
Like, I'm looking at it right now and like it's fairly above sea level, but like the way they're talking, I don't see how this doesn't get overtaken eventually also.
Yeah, like I wouldn't say that it's like, I mean, I guess
And
I don't have a good
are we
perspective.
gonna build on top of the world? Are we gonna have like floating like man-made islands? Like if we're Emu, what is his goal? Just to live for eternity? Just to be in charge? What's the point of being in charge when you have nothing to be in charge of? And then you have the celestial dragons, right? And it's like, if there are no slaves, you guys are first in line to be the new slaves, no?
Pretty much. I mean, that or you just die out because you don't know how to do anything.
I just, for
I
the life of me, cannot conceive of Emu's plan. And it bothers me profusely that once again, if it's not him, we throw it all out. But if we're to assume what Vegapunk was talking about was Emu, like in terms of like I don't know what to say what's good or evil. I have been racking my brain to think, okay, let's recontextualize Emu. I I love a misguided villain. So I'm trying to figure out what's the misguidance? Why does he think what he's doing is necessary? And that's the thing I can't put my finger on.
That's what confuses me a lot too, because we have this idea that emo is basically wiping out threats to the world order they're trying to create. So, for example, the Nefertari family, they have information that could be a detriment to the world, so they're trying to wipe them out.
Yep.
But in a sense, that would mean you're kind of on the side of wanting the world to sink because you don't want that information to spread.
That's my point. You want this would be beneficial.
But yeah, if the world sinks, what world do you have?
So like why are you so adamant? Why are they so anal about like protection of information? It's nonsensical. Maybe they don't maybe it's like like a Ragnarok cataclysm type situation where if the populace freaks out, it's gonna be overall bad for everyone. Because I guess if you're gonna die, why would you pay celestial tributes, right? And like all manner of other stuff. Why would you listen? Why would you obey? You probably just like while out. So maybe there's like this idea of some level of control. But other than that, like, what is it? And like, is it necessary to wipe? Did the reason they wiped out Lelucia because like the flames of rebellion were getting too high there, or did it just sound like, hey, it's Friday on it's our 10-year anniversary on Friday. We have to do our every 10-year
Island wipe.
destruction of island wipe, because we know about the the Celestial Dragons hosted every 14 years like a hunt, right? And my thing is
God
like
Valley?
maybe yeah. Well, God Valley was the location this time. But this is something that they do all the time. And so like that's the next question, right? Like, why do they have these things? Is it just for shits and giggles and just cruelness? Or is there some kind of population control going on? Because one of my favorite series of all time is the series called Gurren Lagann. And one of the things with that is the bad guys weren't really bad. It was a situation where if there were too many humans around, it would bring about the destruction of the entire universe. The entire universe. And so in order to prevent that, they had to kind of be the bad guys and kind of had to put a rein on, the human population. And I'm wondering if humans are allowed to have free will, if humans are allowed to just, do whatever they want, have unlimited freedom, if there is some kind of threat to humanity that would come of that.
I mean, one of my things is I wonder if maybe because even the Gorosei right now, they don't know what Vegapunk is about to say, or like they're completely in the dark on what's going on. Does Emu know? Because what if there's a possibility that they don't have all the pieces like we think they do? What if they don't know the exact direction the world is headed? Because I mean, think about it. They've been eradicating anybody who studies this.
Yeah, they're not infallible. Like you knew the moment they weren't infallible when they were panicking and thinking about like, do we have to get rid of Vegapunk? Can we use York? Because like Saturn apparently is the smartest out of all the Gorosei, and it seems like he not only is unable to make a Mother Flame himself, but he was susceptible to being manipulated. Like he straight up said, if you change anything on Kuma, I will know. And then that was a lie.
I mean, I have my opinions on Saturn's level of knowledge. I actually think he's one.
I know we're talking about the drowning, but I don't mind if you want to take a quick like.
Well, just because as far as like the way the Gorosei work, I think Saturn just seems very, very cocky and everything. Very surefire about not only their power, but their knowledge and control. And from what we've seen in Egghead, he's wrong on all those fronts. Like, they don't know everything. They don't control everything. And they're not the strongest. So he's constantly being defied, I think. And just seeing how scattered they are right now. Like, how Vegapunk pulled such a huge one over on them. And they can't stop it.
They're panicking, dude.
They're freaking out with all their power.
And it's fucking hilarious. Because can you imagine calling someone an ant, calling someone a peon, and they are fucking your whole shit up?
Exactly. Like you said, like you're smarter than him. And then like,
how you letting ants do this? How are ants doing this?
And then bro's just like live streaming on you.
Yeah, live streaming your ass whooping. Live streaming, bro.
And you can't stop it.
You're caught. You're literally caught in 4K. You're literally caught in 4K.
Nothing you can do about it. It's insane. Like, I don't know. Various steps, even with like Luffy in Gear 5, they've been trying to. Not only did they fail to kind of like get their hands on the Nika Nika, but they also failed to cover it up. Like how do you have so little control that those kind of mistakes get out and you can't stop them?
Facts.
Like there's just
Facts.
there's so many like open spots where I feel like they're not fully caught up to what's going on.
I can completely agree with that. One thing I've noticed about One Piece from the jump, it's been an illusion of power, and that's why now controlling of information is just so vast and so important. Because they live on islands and they don't have readily available, like as far as we've seen, people aren't making super long distance den mushy calls, and if they are, it's like on special government den mushis that are meant to like are meant to do that, right? And so like if you can control the dissemination of information, you can control what people believe, who people think are threats, who you think they're who are protecting them, and who's not. And that's what I always loved about One Piece from the beginning, was because Luffy, the like who Luffy is told by people from like the world government's perspective, and then as they meet him, they're like, oh, you're not like that. And Luffy is a big person that's like, you make the decision for yourself, you decide for yourself. And so it's just a matter of what is this information that they do not want to get out. And it kind of ties into the whole like thing with Juribani's power, because that's what we're taught at a young age, that like the sky is the limit, right? And that we can do anything. And so I love how they tie that in with her power, because it's like when she was trying to do the Nika powers before, but her like faith was faltering, it wasn't working because she had doubts, because uh realism is the death of like imagination, right? Like limit, like it's like limits are the death of imagination. Like when you're told you can't do something, when you're told you can't fly, when you're told that's not possible for you, you start to like believe it. It's like it reminds me of like the movie Wanted, where like what if you were never told that like you couldn't curve the bullet, and now like what you've been told is possible is what you believe is possible. And so I think Oda wants to do a whole giant grandiose play on that.
I mean, that is what he's building for. Like, for one, I don't the the concepts of Bonnie's fruit power in particular baffle me. 'Cause
Nutty.
what were they trying to do, and why? How did that slip through their hands? Like
Yep.
you gave someone the power of imagination. That's her
Essentially.
power, and you were just like,
Essentially.
all right, well, she's gone now.
Yep.
Can't recreate that. Like, what? I don't. There's so much to that itself. And I mean, that's one of the big reasons why I think devil fruits have been like man-made entities, is that they keep trying to recreate this perfect power and they keep failing.
Bro, I'm so angry because I was really hoping like when Vegapunk was like telling us what it was like like that after that chapter where we were like their desire. I was hoping the following chapter would be like exposition on that, and it was like no,
It's just
that's
nothing.
that yeah, it's just desire. There, that's what you get. I'm like, I mean that's cool, but like, so like, do they spawn? Do
Yeah,
like do you drop imagination juice on like a like I don't like
and
like
like I read that and I was like, I know you're the smartest man in this series. I don't agree with you though.
I don't agree. That's what
Because-
I'm saying. Like, also, I'm curious. Do you think that how Vegapunk made his satellites is stolen technology, or he ripped off whatever Emu possibly did with the? Do you think the Gorosei are individuals that like got that position, or do you think it's a once again because Oda loves his 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 juxtapositions, his subversions, his like microcosms? Do you think that the reason that like we learned about the satellites in the first place is to just find out later that like the Gorosei are Emu satellites?
oh yeah, I think that they're exact mirrors. I literally think that all of the Gorosei are essentially whatever like the the shadowy inky power is. I think that's Emu's power, and essentially
But
Emu
not
created.
but a devil fruit or no? A personal ability or a devil fruit ability?
I'm saying devil fruit. I'm saying this is the pinnacle of the devil fruits they've been able to create. This is like the top of the top, because essentially
Mhm.
you have 5 immortal, top tiers that pretty much can do whatever they want whenever they want. You can't kill them. crazy powers that we can't explain. Like they just and they the teleportation thing I think is the most interesting part of it, because that's never really been like, if you're going to teleport, that is your Devil Fruit power, is to teleport. They have zone abilities, they have teleportation, they have insane levels of hockey. Like it's like all their stats are maxed out pretty much.
So I have a little bit of an issue with that, just because it kind of seems like the Devil Fruits themselves are power scaling. If the Gorosei, if what they do have is Devil Fruits, it seems like a power scaling thing. Because I did enjoy that the higher echelon Devil Fruits could copy the powers of other Devil Fruits. Like, off the top of my head, like, Law being able to copy like Corzones by, like, he doesn't have that ability, but using his ability, he can like fake it or make a version of it.
Yeah.
We've seen that with like numerous Devil Fruits where they can like emulate the abilities of others. And so, like, yeah, just like you said with the Zone Fruit abilities, like, this is kind of how it feels like when we first ran into like Marco, for example, but on crack.
Yeah, because Marco was a weird one. Because he was
When
an
we first
ancient.
met Marco, like, I'm like, wait, what? Like, he's a zone, but like the bullets went through him. Like,
Like
wait, what's going
Logia or
on?
someone? Like what?
Yeah, yeah.
And I
And
think
he has and he has random like healing powers. So like,
just a weird cacophony of really special. I mean, same with Kaidos. He's a fish fruit, but turns into a dragon. It's like, what? Okay. How does that
okay,
track?
and I think like there's just more than meets the eye with that kind of thing, because everyone thinks this is a joke, and I've said this for decades. I said I don't play around with Oda's jokes because you fuck around and then like it's like plot now.
Yeah, he does that a
And
lot.
like,
He does that a lot.
and like it's really funny and then it's plot. And I was like, a couple things that people like still joke about that like I to this day have always taken seriously are stuff like when Kaku was like shortening his like legs and turned into a box.
Pasta
Um
machine.
when what's his name? What's the Triceratops dude?
Sasaki.
Sazak, when he was able to like fly with his
Fin.
frill.
Yeah.
When Queen was able to like eject himself from his body and make a snake. Like, I genuinely think that those are not abilities of their Devil Fruit, but they believed it strong enough that they were just able to do it. And I think at some level, every single Devil Fruit has Luffy's ability in terms of like, if they believe it enough, they can like do certain things. They just have to like bullshit how it relates to their Devil Fruit. Like how, like kind of how we saw like stuff with like Doflamingo and like this, like all the ways he could use string.
Oh yeah. That's one of the prime examples of the
Yeah,
Devil Fruit
yeah,
not making sense.
exactly. Law is, I think, the prime one, the super prime one.
The only reason I don't cut Lost is because the description of Law's Devil Fruit is that it's made to be overpowered. It's made to do all the things it shouldn't be able to do. Like,
wait, since when was that in the description? What do you mean that's the description?
It's the OP no me. It's OP.
For operation.
It's in the name.
It's in the name.
But I mean,
yeah,
that's the idea about Devil Fruits is that from the beginning, the upper echelon of it has always been controlled by creativity. That's honestly the only limitation you have on your Devil Fruit is how creative you are.
Yes.
And he has like I think Crocodile at some point says it, Doflamingo at some point says it. Basically, your fruit is only as good as you are.
Yeah.
So like these people, Saki thinking about his frills, even I think King and his whole pulling his head back to create a laser beam.
Yeah.
He was also like, yeah, this is what they used to do, so I can do it.
Wait, was it a laser beam he made? I thought he just like,
it was like
I thought he slingshotted something.
I don't really get it. It was like
none of us did. None of us did.
So I feel like he shot his face, but like a visual
Yeah. Like,
representation
what
of his
actually
face.
happened?
I,
What
I
actually happened? I'm with it. I'm with it. Keep going. I'm with it
he
though.
shot something
Yeah.
that normal pterodons couldn't do, but because he believed it, he could do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, like Kaku, basically everything Kaku did was just stuff he created on the spot because he had
Yeah.
no idea what he was doing.
He had
So
no
like,
idea, and he didn't know. And I thought it was hilarious. Like that's what made it great. He didn't have information on. I don't think he knows what giraffes are and what they do.
he was just basically ready. He had because he didn't have any idea like beforehand, and like
And
he
that's what made it stronger. If he actually knew any information about giraffes, he would have been cooked. I mean, he got cooked anyway, but like you get my, he would have been cooked sooner.
yeah, because if you go into it with the mindset of like, oh, I have the limitations of a giraffe, then
Yeah,
you're screwed because you're gonna be a giraffe. But he went into it like, no, I can do this because I'm a giraffe. I can do this because I'm a giraffe. Like I can turn my neck 90 degrees. You know, I can form into a box and shoot lasers from my hands because I'm a giraffe.
Yep.
And he did
Yep.
it.
This is how giraffe do it.
And like that's just, and I think essentially like Luffy and Bonnie's root to a degree are the maximum examples of that. They are the embodiment of that idea.
Yeah.
And then all the other fruits are more or less, they have themes to them with that that built in.
I've said that I like the term theme. I say as long as you can create an application of your power that is in the wheelhouse of the theme of your devil fruit, then like
You're good.
Yeah.
Like one of the Buggy being able to fly, I think is slept on as like a power. Because his power is to separate himself.
Yes.
He figured out that, you know, if I separate myself into the air, I can just stay there.
Because when I move when my limbs get cut and separated, they stay in the air. So if I cut my limb from my foot, then my whole body minus my foot stays in the air, which was, I'm not gonna lie, something I was really upset about in the live action, that his like feet were flying to.
Were they? I didn't even notice that.
Oh really? Yeah, that pissed me off. I get nitpicky and anal about stuff. Like I'm someone, like I hate how like in like the Miles Morales Spider-Man, he can stick to wall wearing shoes. I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, and I read comics, and like that's not a thing. Like the electromagnetic force or whatever that allows him to stick to things, it can't go through thick soles, and this man's wearing Jordans.
Oh, you know, I never really thought about that. I
Yeah.
I always thought that he had the similar the retractable kind of like feelers through his skin that poke through things.
So I know this is supposed to be One Piece, but I'm anime right behind manga. I am like a huge Spider-Man comic fan. So like it's like One Piece and Spider-Man for me, like up there. And so the feeler things everyone got from the what's it called movie? The web. What's that dude's name? Who made the first ones? The first trilogy.
Sam Raimi?
The
original
Raimi
Tobey Maguire ones.
That was that. But actually it's this weird electromagnetic like force that he has that allows him to stick to walls. It's really weird. He and he can also like think about it. So when he wants to stick, he can stick. When he doesn't want to stick, he can stick. Also, in a different universe, he has a daughter, Mayday Parker, and not only can she stick to walls like her dad, but she has the ability to invert the static coefficient Keysian force or whatever, and not only stick to things but repel things. So she can she can blast this phone at you, like so she can make it stick to her and then like shoot it at you.
Like mini Magneto powers?
Yeah, exactly. There's some kind of force between their hand and what objects, and through something relatively thin, it's fine. Through thick sole, they can do it in like I wasn't really mad with Gwen because she has those ballerina shoes. Those would meet the quota, you know?
Yeah.
But like Jordans. Not Jordans. Not fucking Jordans. And you'll always see in like the old Spider-Man comics, if Peter was climbing a wall with shoes on, he's purely because he's strong, using his hands, and like you'll see his like feet pushing, but they're not sticking; they're just like crawling on the when he has
Oh, so he
shoes
just
on.
hold himself up. Every time I learn about
Yeah.
Spider-Man, he just gets more broken.
That's my guy, man.
Just every
That's
time.
my guy. But I forget where we originally segued.
We were talking about I think just the overall weirdness and abilities of devil
Yes.
fruits and how they kind of create their own powers.
Yeah, I'm also another thing I was upset about was like I was really hoping like with the devil fruit explanations, we were gonna finally find out about the goddamn like um Zoan like the weapons, like how like weapons can eat devil fruits. Still
Oh yeah.
like Vegabug's dead now. I was hoping to get that information like
I kind of just assumed that was like in hand of what uh Vegapunk was saying with essentially green blood is the refined version of it. Basically,
Mhm.
they're taking the essence of the devil fruit and they're applying it to an item. So like they
Like
found a way to extract what gives a devil fruit its power and apply it somewhere else.
oh,
Because I mean
okay.
the Lunarians are essentially cyborgs. Like they're entirely man-made if they have devil
Wait,
fruits.
Lunarians or the passive or the
The
Seraphim?
Seraphim Lunarians. So basically
Okay,
they're recreations.
yeah.
Those are completely man-made, and yet they
But like
have complete
that,
devil
but
fruit
that's
powers.
different for me though, because the Seraphim are like flesh and blood. Like, I mean, they might have some cybernetics, but they're blood based. They're flesh based. They're based off DNA of the and organs grown.
Are they? I thought they were. I
You
kind
talking
of thought it was
about
like a mishmash of basically they're taking because they said that they were created from the lineage factor, not
yeah,
necessarily like the
but I figured like that's the whole. They're so we learned the whole reason we learned about the clones is because the next step from the cloning was like the cloning and DNA modification. So they like cloned all like Boa, Mihawk, all these people, and then on top of that, fucked with their lineage factor, and then maybe on top of that, he might have added cybernetics or something. I don't know if he added cyber. I'm adding the cybernetics thing, but like I think he just spliced. I think it's purely like mad science, weird science splicing DNA type shit. But I'm positive that like they're that not only are they I think they are human, and that the only deviation where they might be a little bit like cyborgy is whatever experiment Judge did on the Germa might also be like part of that too. That
oh
would
I see.
yeah. So because Vegapunk at the end of the day is better than all the scientists. So like all the scientists we know of, from Caesar to Judge and all now, are just like if Vegapunk is Jordan, they're all like his kids, or like they all develop different aspects of his game. Like one person might have Jordan's shooting, one might have Jordan's athleticism, and so like I think that's why we learned about them first, and so we learn about their specialties, and like what's his name has the cloning specialty, and what's his name has this specialty, and then now Vegapunk, who's like the goat, like
Basically has all of
for
it.
him, he has all of it, and that's what he used to make the Seraphim.
You have a point there. I would wonder, did he drain their blood and replace it with green blood?
Um, he either drained their blood and replaced it with green blood, or that was part of the gene splicing, so that it like the green blood in there, because all the green blood in them is not all the same.
That's
The
true.
green blood they have pertains to both
Very
their lineage
specific.
factor spliced with whatever
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 fruit
uh,
power they have.
whatever fruit power, and some I would assume are easier than others. Like Boa Hancock's was probably super easy because she
They
had
just give her the
you,
same power.
yeah. But like for someone like Jinbei, that might have been more difficult because you have to like take this thing and like fit it in, which means that in some way, shape, or form, when you eat a devil fruit, somehow it fucks with your lineage factor and DNA. And he found out how to do that. One thing I was curious about, though, since we're talking about it, is I think it's weird how when they experimented on Jori Bonnie and gave her the uh the age fruit abilities, it got lost from the is it the fruit or so whatever else had it, but for the Seraphim, two people can exist with the same power.
Well, we know that Vegapunk was able to perfectly recreate a devil fruit. Like
Mm-hmm.
he, at least when it comes to Zoan and Paramecia, I think the only one he said he can't do is Logia right now.
Uh-huh.
So he's able to recreate them without, I guess, the coincidence of two existing at the one time. Because we have Kaido's fruit.
Momo and Kaido.
Yeah.
But my thing is like, why wouldn't I feel like they should know more. When it comes to devil fruits, I feel like the Gorosei and Imu should know more. And so for whatever experiments they were doing, for that one to seem shittier seems like weird to me.
I honestly don't think they know more.
It doesn't seem like they can it doesn't seem like they can give Bonnie's power to anyone else.
Yeah, I think they have like a general idea. I think they're more on like Judge's level of knowing how the lineage factor works. And the reason that they have Vegapunk is that he knows exactly how that stuff works and he knows how to put it into play. They don't have that knowledge, and I think they know he's not going to give them that knowledge, which is why they've kept him around for so long. Exactly. But I don't think they know. I mean, one of the things they talked about as far as like the Buster Call and stuff is that there's actually a lot of stuff on this island that they want to keep. So I mean, I don't know why Buster calling it, but they want they want to keep the Mother Flame. They want to keep the research. They want to keep like some of the automations. Like they want the stuff on this island, and they still want a Vegapunk. They just want one that listens to them.
Yeah,
because they don't have the facilities. They don't have the knowledge. They don't have like the ability to do what he does. So like that's one of the other things about Saturn is that he purports more than he knows, and I think that's a reoccurring theme with the world's government and Navy in general is that they purport more than they know. You know, they talk a big game, but then they
end up being revealed. I've always felt that way about the world government. I always felt the end all be all is Imu, and I wouldn't be surprised now that you speak about this is if we get to the end and Imu was also doing that as well.
And I mean, even for Imu, it seems like Imu was more like prophecy based. Like Imu doesn't seem as interested in, you know, exactly the specific logical workings of the world. It's like Imu feels more like I had a vision that this would happen, or I have a vision of this happening. We got to make that happen. You guys work for me. You make it happen.
That's crazy. And like I'm thinking about it, like not even just metaphorical. What if it's like literal? What if he does? What if he obviously probably has phenomenal hockey. What if he has some shit that's comparable to like Madame Charlie, and like can see like bits of the like future and like prophecies and actual visions
that would make sense.
That have influenced his decisions.
Because I think that kind of plays into like the whole great cleansing thing, where if Imu has a vision on something, basically he's like, all right, I've created these 5 underlings to make sure, you know, whatever I see either works out or doesn't work out. If I want it to work, they go ensure it works. If I don't, they go ensure that too. That's their reason for existing, is to make these, you know, whatever I'm seeing come to fruition.
I just thought of like one way, like one thing that would be really, really, really bad for Imu and the world government is, okay, what makes Imu and the world government so hard to overthrow?
I don't think they're that hard to overthrow, to be honest. But what you got?
For one specific reason.
What you got? The high up?
Yeah, they're high up. It's really hard to get up there. Like there's like not a lot of things that exist that would allow you to, like, that's why they're doing a siege right now. because they can't just like get up there and like send armies up there. And so what happens? Water levels rise. Everyone all aboard the Noah. We're going to visit Pangea. That could be crazy.
So here's my thing on that though, especially because of devil fruits in particular. You get a Kaido, you get a Big Mom. Both have outstanding abilities at base, but also have the ability of flight.
Yeah.
The height of the red line means nothing to them. And then you get someone like Whitebeard, or in this case, Blackbeard. Earthquakes. He can shatter whatever he wants in this world. We've been told that time and time again, he has the power to destroy the world. I think, in a way, those particular Yonko were set to kind of oppose what is, the world government and, that high stature. Because they all have abilities that can directly counter them.
I hear you. I completely hear you. My issue is several things. One, with what Whitebeard destroying the whole world thing. I'm one of the people, I like to prescribe to the theory that was less literal and more in terms of like he can set forth a bunch of chain reactions that result in like the destruction of the world, and less like the world actually breaking and more like everything on it getting like destroyed. And then with Big Mom and Kaido being able to fly, I feel like there is. Do you think there's like a height limit or something? Because the reason I ask this is because I think Oda intentionally, and I could just be reading into it, but I think Oda intentionally made a point to show that like Kuma couldn't just like paw himself to the top of the red line. Now, maybe it was just a matter of he was weak, but I don't know. It seemed like there was something to that.
Well, I think Kuma's ability in particular is very similar to Kizaru's, where Kizaru, when he's traveling, he has to go in a straight line. So, he can't just go straight up. He has to angle directly where he wants to go. The same with Kuma. When he uses his ability to push something, it goes in one direction. So no,
it's linear. He can't like maybe go up and okay. That makes. I also thought that as well.
Because we see it when Luffy's traveling. He's in a boat for 3 days, 3 nights, and he kind of just moves in a straight line, and whatever's in front of him either gets blown away or stops him. So like he blasts through Sea Kings. He'll blast through a small like little hill if it's there, but essentially it'll stop somewhere. So with Kuma, he smashed into this giant mountain of a red line. That's kind of where the trip ends.
Okay. So interesting. All right.
I would wonder about a height requirement though, because I feel like to some degree, I mean, I don't know. And Ellsworth.
I think Oda originally, that's why the whole, you remember like one of the biggest, like, I don't want to say plot holes, one of the biggest like controversies was like there are only 5 flying devil fruits or something like that.
Oh yeah, I remember. There are only 5 devil fruits that can give flight.
Now in hindsight, I think the reason Oda originally did that was for this purpose. Because then like there would be too many people that could like just fly up there.
I wonder, where did we get that knowledge from? Did Pell tell us that? Or was it like told to us in a very specific way? Because if Pell said it,
I think Pell said it because he was introduced and we were told. Pell mentioned back when he first used his powers that his was one of only 5 devil fruits that granted the ability to fly. Now, to be fair, that's super easy to rectify. That nigga just didn't know.
Well, say Pell's just be an idiot. He can really just not know anything.
Yeah, like he's just been in Alabama his whole life. Like, how would you know?
He could have only seen 5 and was like, oh, that's it.
Or maybe Alabasta has like books in the library, and whatever book in the library is out is volume 1 or 2, and like
that's possible. Like, yeah, he could just have misinformation.
That's an easy cop out. Like, but I do think that like once again, just retrospectively looking at the entire series, like I think it's reasonable to like you could say that like maybe that part of the reason Oda didn't want so many flying things was because that would make it too easy for people to like scale the grand line, the red line and stuff like that. Now, when you were talking about like Whitebeard can destroy anything, were you applying that to like the red line also?
Yes, I think for sure.
Interesting. Maybe maybe infused with hockey, but like I get this feeling that like that red line is going to be like the birdcage and like Onigashima on crack.
I mean, I can't figure out the birdcage
Like,
for the life of me. But
that's all I'm saying is you've had all these island whales going at it forever. I'm sure other people in the past have tried at it. I remember Dory and Bragi. Dory and Bragi were able to like cut and harm. Not I don't know harm. Let's not be like super like with my use of the word harm, but like they were able to like do damage to the Gorosei. And they said that the only thing that they cannot cut is the Jormungandr, which is, I mean, I'm assuming this. I think we can all safely say Jormungandr is the red line, the red snake, and even they can't do it.
I mean,
and they have the move that fucking Kaido and Big Mom used, which once again really pissed off. Where the fuck did they learn that? Give us like all these like things Oda does, these little like drops of just like.
Well, I think that was literally just Kaido using a move and Big Mom using a move together. Big Mom knows like the Giants moveset.
But they use that's a giant move.
Yeah, but big, like, you know how when they combine attacks and they take two names and put them together.
Okay.
I think that's more what that was, because it was like
they did Hokaku sovereignty, and Dory Bragi was theirs Ikaku.
I think so, because one is like what ocean sovereignty, and then the other one is what king sovereignty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I literally think it's like a combination of their two moves.
So basically, Ikaku is big nation, and Hakaku is like warrior nation.
Okay, and that would make sense if.
And it makes sense that Big Mom knows that name, and if she also took in Kaido as her like little brother, it would make sense that she like taught him that. Also, especially if she thought he was like a giant, because I remember I told you this like a year ago or something, that like I originally had this theory that like Kaido was like an ancient giant runt,
and then basically Big Mom took him in and
yeah, because she felt a connection to him, because she was like like Kaido is an ancient giant runt, and she is like a human like giant
maxed out.
Yeah. Opposite direction. They're both outcasts of their lineage.
Right. And
just on different.
Yeah, because I guess she really could have just taught him. Because I mean, she gave him the fruit, and we know that they.
Yep.
As far as like the rocks go, it seems like they spent a decent amount of time together. So very possible she could have just taught him that kind of stuff. Because we know Big Mom knows like all the giant moves.
Is there anything special about like? There's no way in hell that I feel like Blackbeard wouldn't know about the world flooding. So why is Hachinosu important to him? Because that bitch is gonna flood ASAP, and I don't think that there's anything. I'm looking at it right now. I don't think there's anything special about it, unless now that he has whatever that guy's name is, Avalo Pizarro. Maybe the island can like move, or like he can have it. I don't know.
I don't think like, Blackbeard knows. I mean, look.
Really? He seems to know everything.
Look at the one thing he's doing. Like, he's been doing it for the past couple of years, and that's collecting devil fruits.
Mm-hmm.
The world floods. Your entire team is screwed. Your whole squad done.
But I feel like he has a contingency. He has to, but I do love the popular fan theory that no one has ever drowned in the entirety of One Piece, and like the first person to go to Davy Jones' locker should be like
Blackbeard.
Blackbeard in like a fit of greed, trying to like get the One Piece or whatever, but drowns for it. And maybe Luffy is too, but unlike Blackbeard, his crew actually cares about him and has members that can swim.
And go in and save him, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's, and I think Blackbeard in particular is a very a weird character because he at times he seems to be playing like 4D chess, and then other times he is failing at checkers. And I'm
like everyone's favorite example is Magellan.
Oh yeah, he gets his entire squad gets one shot by Mandel.
Yeah, it's like it could have been over right there, and if he didn't get lucky.
That's one of the things I dislike about Blackbeard is that he can be so meticulous with his plan, but then he just walks up to the strongest dude and is like, yeah, you like me now, and then he gets one shot. He did it to Magellan, he did it to Whitebeard, he walked up to Luffy, got punched in the face, he walked up to Law, got shock-willed. Like he's so, I mean, it goes to show that Whitebeard was correct, because Whitebeard says like your two weaknesses is that you rely on your fruit and you're incredibly overconfident, and that's going to be your downfall, and it's his downfall every single time.
Facts, absolute facts. And like, I like the character, don't get me wrong, but one of the things I dislike about the character is outside of lore, he has never seemed strong to me.
Yeah, I still think he's, I mean, he's not low tier.
In every ranking, Blackbeard is always like top 5 or something. But I'm like, I just don't see, like, I think about like, especially right now, I think about like Gear 5 Luffy, and then Blackbeard. Like, come on.
Like,
but the cool thing about Blackbeard is at least he could fight Luffy, because if Luffy touches him, that should get rid of his Gear 5, unless his like Toon Force and his imagination powers are just so strong that it'll like, nah, you no.
I would hate that, to be honest. That's Blackbeard's thing. Like, as far as like a character goes, that's his power is not the Gura. It's not the, it's Kurozu. If he says Kurozu, you done. It's over. Raps. If he can't use Kurozu, then what's he gonna do?
Yeah.
Punch Luffy with an earthquake? Like, I feel like he has the basest of base levels of hockey. He does not seem like a strong hockey user to me. So I don't see him as like a great fighter, to be honest. He gets lucky.
I agree. So I'm really waiting to see. Like, he did have kind of a good showing with like, he gets randomly weird showings. Like, he had the weird showing with I guess Ace, and then he it was kind of a little bit bad showing though, because he was like hurt, but like it kind of got silly, but he ended up winning. He had a good showing with Law. He had a good showing with Riley, when like I did not like this, but Riley was like, yeah, like maybe a while ago I could, but like I don't think I can like take him now. I was like, God damn it, Riley. Like, even if it's true, I just wish you didn't say it.
Just keep it to yourself. I mean, it's his showings are like good and bad, because like
it's so awkward because they're not like Luffy's, but like they both have like the same like win-loss. Like they both like Luffy loses embarrassingly too, but it's like noble when he does it.
I mean, in a way, I think Luffy has, the thing about Blackbeard that I'll give him credit for is that he starts off losing every time. More often than not, he wins in the end. Like with Ace, he was struggling. He won in the end. With, everything going with, like, say, Boa Hancock, with Law, he always struggles in the beginning. And
technically, Luffy does too.
But then Luffy loses, and that's just it. he doesn't win all the time.
Until he eats it. No, but that's my point. That's what I was saying. Just how I was bitching about, Blackbeard getting hoed. Like, Luffy gets hoed. I prefer when Luffy gets hoed, because, like, there's nobility to it.
But like Blackbeard always leaves with something. Like when Luffy gets beat by Aokiji, he still hasn't reached that level yet. I still think Aokiji's taken him. So like that's just an L he has. Yeah. Like he lost to Kaido like 4 times. Yeah. And he had to get Awakened Power.
Crocodile like 3 times.
Crocodile like 3 times. He luckily countered an L, or else he would have lost that fight. Like,
Yep.
whereas
Yep.
Blackbeard, even if he doesn't win like the fight, he leaves with something. Right? He left
Yep.
Amazon Lily with something. You know, he left Law. He took the poneglyphs. Like he goes into a fight. When he went to Impel Down, lost the fight.
He gets, yeah.
As crew, he gets what he wants. Like that's the part that I really like about Blackbeard is that despite his flaws and like fighting and stuff, when he has a meticulous plan, it works. It just works.
Yep. And I respect that. Like he's like one of the like few true pirates who like gets through with their like treachery and intelligence.
Yeah,
And that's a nice angle to see in the series.
Him being like top is, you'll be ranking him too high. We'll have him at like 1 right now.
That's what that's saying. And like I get like lore base and like narrative base. Yes, it makes sense. Well, 1 is a little much. I wouldn't put him past 3. Because Emu is my 1. Emu is my 1 right now. But like,
interesting.
Well, who's your 1?
I still have Kaido top 1. Kaido's a monster.
Kaido
is an absolute. If Kaido wants to fight you, you done.
But like, I feel you. But like, Emu, the last villain of the show is clearly going to be Emu or Blackbeard. I don't think Emu can be weaker than Kaido.
That's the weird thing is that, and it's one of the things I like about One Piece is that, you know, strength and potency are a little bit different.
You're saying I know the argument you're about. Yeah, I know what you're about. Yeah, go ahead.
Because like one thing people still stock up is that Shiryu is going to be the last swordsman villain we fight, even after Mihawk, and that makes no sense to me.
I don't see it. He's more deceptive. His sword is like good, but like he's still like a little dickhead.
I mean, I think Shiryu's up. I think Blackbeard's entire like fighting crew is garbage. Just absolute dog water. Burgess is trash. Shiryu's trash.
I thought Burgess was all right, and I couldn't wait to see what's his name brings to the table. He seems so mysterious.
Lafayette.
Yeah.
I like the ones that don't fight. Lafayette. I like Katarina. Van Augur seems cool because he's like he does what he needs to do and he gets out.
Van Augur. Those are the 2 I'm most excited for.
Yeah, but when it comes to like Sanjan Wolf, he got one shot by Garp. He was done. He got one shot by Aokiji. Shiryu hasn't done anything cool. He cut Moria. Like
he cut Garp, and it didn't even really like. All it did was like he couldn't even do that right.
And it's like Garp jumped in the way of that. You didn't even aim for Garp. Garp gave you that.
Yeah.
Like Burgess, I don't think has ever taken a W in his life. I can't think of a time when Burgess has done something good in the story. The one thing he managed to do was make it to Baltigo.
They're gonna scale him up because you have to realize that like Blackbeard's crew is gonna have to fight Luffy's crew, and on Luffy's crew is like the likes of like Zoro, Sanji, Jinbei. I'm fingers crossed that like Yamato has a Jinbei and Wano moment, and
I would like that.
Comes back. But like so like obviously they're gonna have to scale up.
But how high? Like Shiryu is so low.
He has to. High. Come on, you know how high they're gonna scale up to the straw, whatever the endgame Straw Hats are. You know this.
Doing what? Where is he at? Where he gets to the level he is now, which is dog water, to being able to accurately contest Zoro or Mihawk. How does that happen?
I think it's just going to happen.
It's like his.
I know that sounds like so awful. I hate how that sounds, but I think it's just like Oda chooses narrative over power scaling every time.
Yeah, that is. It hurts me so deep.
The sigh of like.
Because that means like Burgess is gonna be somebody's infight.
He will.
And it's probably gonna be Frankie's.
I can see it. Also, I'm gonna be real with you. I did not expect Frankie to be as strong as he was portrayed in the last chapter.
Oh, one shot in a Vice Admiral? Yes. Yeah, I am here for Frankie feats.
So that's part of my point. Like, Like just Oda's gonna do it when it needs to be done, I suppose.
I mean, that's fair. I I mean, to be fair, I think Frankie kind of always had the potential. I never thought Frankie was like
I never
one of the
thought he
weaker.
was weak.
It's
Like
just,
I thought the what's it called fight was on par with him. The Triceratops. I thought that was on par with him. That made sense.
and I think because we kind of had going into it, we had Sasuke as the strongest of the Tobiropo. I think he was like number one as far as like because I think he even has like the highest bounty of them all. I mean,
Did he?
personally, I have Ulti as the top because she's better than all of them. But I'm pretty sure he has the highest
Yeah.
bounty of the
Let's
Tobiropo.
take a little looky loo. Oh, darn, you're not gonna like give me a bounty listing. I don't want to check their things individually.
Wait, did he give it in the SBS? Is that where he dropped it?
Probably, but I'm sure there's like a post on here if I type in. All right, so this thing did a listing. It has page 1-6, Sasaki 5. We're not gonna like super listen. We're just gonna like go through what this page. It's game rant, so don't listen to them. X Drake, Black Maria, Ulti second, Who's Who first. I do think Who's Who's
Who's
first.
who? Ulti was second?
Yeah.
Hold on. I mean, I am okay
I
with
mean,
that
this is
narrative,
some
but
BS. Like you can. I always tell people take things with a grain of salt. Like I'm the kind of person I don't like Death Battle because I think they've become so big that like you just take their word.
that's fair.
So like this is what these people said. It's not necessarily. I'm looking for bounties though. I'm
Based
just gonna have to.
on the
Yeah,
wiki, Sasaki I think has the strongest with 5-7.
but
Who?
don't forget you can't like strength off bounties.
Yeah, I'm just what I was saying was like Sasuke was purported to be like the strongest.
Mhm.
That's kind of like the idea we had going into
Yeah,
it. So it was at the time it was weird for Frankie to have that fight.
yeah,
Everyone's like, Frankie?
yep, yep.
I was like, yeah, let's go for it. And like that wasn't
Good move,
even
that's my boy.
an incredibly hard fight for Frankie, I would say. I
Mhm.
don't think he was struggling all that much.
Honestly, I didn't realize it, but it was kind of gaggy, and he ends up not even truly beating him with Iron Shogun. It was base him.
Yeah, he shot a beam through his guts.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, Oda's been doing this weird thing with Frankie where it's been a lot of like bells and whistles, but then like none of them really work. It's just his like
It's
base
just
kit.
Frankie.
It's just his base kit. So like that is true.
I feel like I always have fun with the Frankie fight because like even
Yeah.
with Senior Pink, like there's a certain air about a Frankie fight that just it works really well.
I still
And I
want to
feel
know
like
Ulti's fucking parent.
I need all of Ulti's information.
I need all of them. So yeah, I think whoever did this ranked them by bounty minus Ulti, because Ulti's bounty is lower than Who's Who's and Sasaki's.
Yeah, based on Mickey, she has a 4, so she's a little bit lower than those two.
Yeah, she's 400, and then Sasaki's 472, and then Who's Who is 546.
And I know page 1's lower.
Random question. I feel like I might ask you this before, but I like to check. Do you have Sanjay above Jimei right now? Scaling?
Unfortunate.
It's so weird. I feel like normally I'm really good about not being like a head ass, but like I don't know why. I just like it's just weird. Sanji did get the better fight, but like Jinbei's fight was super easy, barely an inconvenience.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, I don't like either of those characters. I don't like Sanji or Jinbei.
You don't like Jinbei?
Jinbei is neutral. I
Okay, that's not good about Jinbei's cool to me, but like, yeah.
I'm
And
against
I don't
him being in the crew.
dislike Sanji. My thing with Sanji is he's not Zoro, and I love Zoro.
I adamantly dislike Sanjay. the worst straw hat.
Oh no.
But I think he is
Oh
stronger than Jinbei at this
no.
time. Because he's got Germa X.
Yeah, I was getting really pissed off during the like altercations with the Seraphim, and people were like saying like trying to use that to like scale them, and I was like,
Be quiet works out. Seraphim Jinbei is the swim fruit. That's a nasty combo.
Yo,
That's
yeah,
disgusting.
yeah. It's a great like I love when I found that out, I was like, yo, that's actually clever. Like giving like a fishman like, and then he could use like merman karate with like
Anything.
like that part was insane to me. That like not only could he swim, but he also could like you like because once again, I think it goes back to like imagination because not only the concept is just supposed to be to swim through like solid like it is water, not that it turns to water, but the way he uses the fruit, he uses it as if it is water. That is nutty.
And like the argument has always been like Jinbei underwater is a different beast. Yeah. The Seraphim is literally a Jinbei that's like technically underwater because he can just make everything water.
Yes.
Like that was I was like, whoever decided to combine that, genius.
Swim now. Ironically could not swim.
Cannot swim. But I wonder if there is some kind of loophole with that. Because
with it in general or with S Shark?
Well, specifically that fruit. Like I wonder if you can manipulate the water to act as stone would. Because I mean, we know that the water isn't immune to fruit. Aokiji still works. So like it's still susceptible to being affected by the fruit.
Yeah.
So I wonder if you could create like the water he touches doesn't drain his ability. If so, that would be kind of OP, especially for like a world government weapon.
What if you made yourself like a rock suit, and then like went in the water and just manipulated the rock suit around you?
Oh,
now we're getting convoluted, huh?
But that's entirely plausible.
It's One Piece, man. If you could think it,
then you can do it.
But it's a great idea because I do like. I am very happy that Oda didn't take forever and did show us examples of fishmen, devil fruit users in water, and just basically they're just stuck. They can live. They just can't move. That's interesting. But I also think it's weird they can't move because like I thought the whole thing was you can't swim, so why can't they walk?
Well, the idea is that it drains your ability.
And then you have San Juan who can walk.
See, his doesn't make any sense.
But to be fair, he's not submerged because I guess.
Because it's supposed to be like if you're, it's like knee deep, ankle deep. That's when it just starts basically draining your energy. And I'm pretty sure he's like waist deep in water, but he's just unaffected by it. So however that works, maybe that will make him viable to the group. Exactly. But like, as far as like Jack goes, I think if you're like a certain level underwater, you don't have the energy to move. So it's like even being a fisherman, he just doesn't have the energy to move around. You're basically like paralyzed.
Yeah. All right, we are. Let me see this timestamp. We are about almost 2 hours in, so let's try to wrap it up in about less than half an hour. Let's just finish off with. All right, so all right, quick recap. So I want to end this off with where do we go from here with this knowledge? What does this mean? What does this change? What do we think happens now in the end game? But before we go to that, I just want to make sure, have we touched on every possible, like, any, like, clues we were given from the beginning? Or, all right. So real quick, I forgot we didn't talk about this. Shanks's crew and Roger's crew, and how all of Shanks's crew not Devil Fruit users at all. And now we know that there's probably a reason for that now. Swimming is probably very important. Maybe the One Piece is underwater. Maybe that's why Shanks didn't go, but he probably heard about it, right?
That's
He
I don't
didn't
know
go to
about
Laughdale. He stayed back with Buggy, right?
yeah. See,
Yeah.
I guess the thing about the spirit of the adventure is that I don't think that Roger or anyone from the crew would just come back and be like, oh hey, the One Piece is this, the Laugh-Tale was this.
You don't think Shanks knows what the One Piece is?
I don't think so, because that kind of that ruins the idea of the journey for them, right? Because they said they'll go on their
The
own.
only reason that they didn't take them were because they were. What was the reason they didn't go?
Buggy was sick, and so
Yeah,
Buggy
so
couldn't
like,
go.
so technically, like they were supposed to go. So it's not like they didn't want to go. They didn't want to see the One Piece.
Yeah, but you gotta think about how Luffy reacted when Usopp asked for it. Basically,
Yeah.
it's the idea of you kind of ruin the adventure when you know what's there.
Yeah.
So I mean, if Roger
That's
told them
so
what was
weird
there,
to be on that crew though. So when they come back, just like no one's allowed to spoiler alerts everywhere.
honestly, I think so. Because well, I mean, they came back and then they disbanded after what?
Immediately.
It was either like immediately or over the course of like a year. They basically separated.
Yeah, so during that year, like they weren't telling tale the entire time about like what they had been through.
I don't think so. I mean, no one knows about it, but the Roger Pirates. So like they weren't telling anybody. They saw it and then just didn't talk about it.
Mm.
Because I think for one,
But yeah,
if Roger had told, or if any of the crew had told them, it makes no reason for them to go, I guess, because Roger knows who's.
So do you
supposed
think
to
he
go
has an
there.
inkling at least? Because like, why would he not have any Delph users at all? Just because of what he said originally, that he just simply wants them to be able to swim, or what?
I mean, I think that might have more to do with him being in possible coups with the government. He might be privy to some information.
Are you wrong? You said cahoots?
He's-
Please don't tell me. Please don't tell me your Shakes is a rat agenda.
I kind of. I'm not gonna lie.
No.
Because why is he doing the things he does? How did he just walk into the Gorosei's room?
Why is he so nice to Luffy? Why is he protecting Luffy? Why is he loved by everyone? I don't know.
Because
I
like
refuse. I thought that like I know a lot of people. I thought like yeah, that's a cool twist, but like nah.
well, I think it's I wouldn't necessarily say he's like completely on their side. I think he's playing a long game. I think he plays the winning side. So he's with the world government right now.
Real rat.
But he's building up Luffy for something. Because I think in one way, we have to know that whoever goes to Laugh-Tale, whoever finds this stuff, they have to be the one. Like it can't just be anybody. Which is why he hasn't gone for this whole time. He waited until Luffy was like ready to go. He was like, all right, guys, pack up, let's go. It's time. We've been waiting for this.
I'm so mad. Everyone's saying that. And everyone's making fun of Mihawk too, because Mihawk was like, I don't want to fight these three people.
But I mean, I kind of feel him.
Oh my, that's what I'm saying. It's like the era of frauds. Like just because
Fraud Hawk is strong.
People can't be smart about things. No, everyone wants every character to be like Luffy, just run at things face first.
Yeah, and it's like Mihawk's things. He just wants to chill. Man was like sitting on his island farming, reading the newspaper.
Every time we've seen Mihawk, it's him doing things he doesn't want to fucking do.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be at the fucking at Marineford. He doesn't want to train Zoro. He doesn't want to like fight like all like he doesn't want this stuff. Yeah,
Basically, his story is he got too strong and they wouldn't leave him alone. So he was like,
yeah,
I gotta do something.
yes, exactly.
And now
So,
he's just suffering the whole time.
um, I think Riley being a ship coder purely intentional, purely intentional. I can't say the same for Crocus. That just seems convenient to me. I just think it just. I don't think him converting Laboon had anything to do with anything besides just Laboon was hurting himself, and it was easier for him to make Laboon like habitable so that he could continue treatment on him all the time.
Interesting. I I kind of see it the other way. Because
Okay,
I feel like Crocus is planning for the flood, whereas
that's what everyone's saying, and I'm
yeah,
saying keep going, keep going. Sorry.
whereas Rayleigh is more or less prepping people to stop it. Rayleigh is guiding people on a journey, whereas Crocus is preparing for an end game.
Mm. Okay, because I just kind of believed what Crocus told us, and that was the reason he did that was because Laboon was slamming his head into the thing, and he decided to stay with him forever, and it was just easier to like live inside him and treat him as his like live-in doctor, and
I
like
mean,
everything he did was more so for him than
it,
like end game stuff.
it could
The
just be
reason,
straight up.
and I think the reason that Riley is actually the one doing endgame stuff is what if he like needs to coat the Noah or have a team of people coat the Noah?
Why wouldn't they have coded it already?
Actually, yeah, the Noah was coated when they fought on it.
It was in a bubble of its own, being held there.
Yeah,
I I can imagine if it's
I wonder
coded.
if the Giants are able to coat.
Hmm. You would have we met like other coders besides I think what Rayleigh and Tom's cousin?
Uh, no, but I think that's just like a we just don't have time for that kind of thing. But like I'm sure
I could see.
there's a bunch of popular shipyards. I'm surprised we never hear mention of coding in like Water 7 though, even though like no one really goes underwater, but you would think like that just be like like how doctors have to know certain things, like shipwrights would have to like maybe just have like a little course in coding.
Yeah, I guess it I mean, to be fair, I don't know if it would make sense for them to code through Water 7 because I don't think
Mhm.
there's anywhere to go.
To dive.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. Like I was figuring like, but like I was thinking like, would you not just teach us general knowledge?
I think that would be useful to have. Like,
Yeah.
I know of this. I can point you to a place where you want to get it done, but I could like I know of this and I
Also,
could tell you.
do we know? I think I asked this earlier. Why the fishermen live on Fisherman Island as opposed to like just being like free in the ocean?
Essentially, they wanted to live on the surface, and when they were forced off by all the racist celestial dragons, they created Fisherman Island as a pseudo surface, and so like they have like the light pouring through, kind of create this idea
Oh,
that
that's
they're on
why. No,
land.
that's the answer you just said. If they lived anywhere else in the ocean, it would be dark.
Yeah, the specific thing was they had one of the trees. It's the is it the
Eve.
Sabondi trees?
Yeah, the isn't it wait not Sunlight Eve?
Is it Sunlight Eve?
Yeah,
Okay,
it
so
is
Sunlight
illuminated
Eve's
by the sunlight tree Eve.
okay. Yeah, and that basically brings the sunlight down where they're at. But I mean, I think the idea was that they're creating like their version of the surface world since
Hmm.
they couldn't live on the surface or they were pushed from the surface.
But also, once again, I think just in the sea itself, it would just be like dark and
It would be
yeah,
mad
we can
dark.
like it'd be like humans, like, yeah, we can live outside, but like cold and like all the other problems. So like they still need like a environment and habitat.
Because I mean, like they
But
have.
it does make me wonder if there's some kind of like nomadic fish man group that like does live in like the deep sea. Because even in our world, the deep sea is unexplored.
Be interesting. I mean, we know some of them. Like they had a few colonies around Big Mom's territory, or like some of the fishermen. They lived underwater, but they just like lived natively in the water.
Ah, got you.
Like Praline, Aladdin, they just lived in the water. Like they didn't really have a specific setup besides just living there. But as far as like deep sea, that would be interesting. In the depths. Because you would imagine there's probably some that are
and I would imagine they're stronger than the average fisherman because like the water pressure is higher down there.
They got that 10 times gravity training. They yoked down there.
Exactly. So many questions. So all right, we touched on I mean, this is hard. I'm sure we're missing something, but we can't. We're not
There's
perfect.
so much.
Is there, so are we done with just any and all recontextualizations?
I think we
just
pretty much hit like a lot of them.
What about Alabasta? The fact that it's a desert. Let me look at the Alabasta map real quick. I wonder if that's going to be important because they could use a flood. So
is Alabasta only a desert because of crocodile, or did he just
wait a
encourage?
minute. I remember there's a river. There was a fucking river in Alabasta. Oh, sorry. Oh, you said is it a desert because of crocodile? So it was always a desert, but it still had like water and stuff. But like it became super dry and arid because of crocodile.
Okay, so he just took it to the extreme.
Yes. There were still like oases. Like you remember the one place where what's his name's dad was?
Yeah, the little shovel man.
Yeah, like it used to be an oasis.
Bonton?
Yeah. But I can't remember it. The Sandora River. The Sandora River cuts Alabasta right down the middle from the north to the south, making travel around the country difficult. Once an important source of fresh water for the kingdom, the river's current gradually lost force along the years, allowing the sea to overtake a significant portion of it. So something that we weren't thinking about at all.
Huh.
So that's another example of like, I'm trying to hit all these islands. Drum Island. Wait a minute, because weren't all of Drum Island a bunch of what is that like? Yeah.
I think it still has like a native land base, but it also has those mountains on it, doesn't it?
It does, and I'm wondering like why a chain of drum-shaped mountains that tower over the kingdom. The tallest one is called Drum Rock. All right, let's check that out. The tallest rock is called Drum Rock, pointed out to Koreha. The peak plateau of Drum Rock lies more than staggering 5,000 meters above sea level. And the castle was on Drum Rock, and it would make sense why Wapol's head ass would want to live there. Because, like, while everyone else drowns, he would be safe up there.
Did we talk about Dressrosa? I remember we talked about it in
we
the
talked
pre-talk.
about it before stream, but we can talk about it now.
Because basically the geology of Dressrosa also lends very much to trying to keep out water.
Mm-hmm.
The way I think it has like it has kind of like a smooth outer rim plus the giant rock formation that goes around it. That basically makes it isolated.
It terrifies me though, because like even though it is slightly elevated, it doesn't look that much so, and also looks like it's just low enough that like water would get in, and high enough that it would create like a murder pool.
It looks like what they did with Wano, where
but like worse. But like, cause like Wano was like super deep at least, so like it would have to fill up a while before it reached that next one. Dressrosa don't look that deep.
yeah, yeah.
Like it would get filled. That's why I said it would murder pool.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of cobbled rocks together.
Yeah, Wano definitely is like going to be one of the most important in terms of like how it was made, and like once again, those barriers. Did the previous owner of whatever fruit Pika had, or the island fruit had, was that all just random man-made labor? Um,
You would think it was the work of a fruit, because I mean those things are tall. They're about as tall as the
that's what I'm saying.
mountain
And then
itself.
back to the red line. How did the red line come to be? Was that like an ability? Was that, it has to be more than a fruit? Part of me wants to say it's infused with hockey. I truly want to say, I believe that like believe in my heart that like the red line has some kind of correlation to poneglyphs, and maybe the red ones.
Hmm.
Because like poneglyphs, like they're one of their most known traits is their indestructibility. But at the same time, if they're indestructible, how are you able to carve in them in the first place? So like,
Do we know when the red line came to be?
let's
Is that
find out.
given information?
Let's find out. Let's find out. But as far as I'm concerned, I feel like it's one of those things in the lore of One Piece that's just always been there.
I don't see specifically says it.
Nope. Nope. Like it's one of those fixtures that we're just supposed to kind of assume has been there, and we know that like the one of the eldest races that we know of, the Lunarians, were there first.
Because I would wonder if it predates Void Century. But I also don't think we know how old the Aryan race is.
No, Oda wants to keep his little secrets.
Well, actually, now I think about it, it
Mhm.
has to be Red Line has to have been during the Void Century, right? Because that's when they created Fishman Island in opposition to not being able to live up on the surface through the Red Line, and it's directly below the Red Line.
Okay. Also, remember, was there something like a legend or like instructions passed down the royal family?
For what? Stone carving?
I'm checking right. Princess Poseidon lived during the Void Century and made a pact with Joy Boy. She would use her power to command the Sea Rings to bring Noah to the surface and activate its intended mission, for which the details would be revealed when raised. However, Joy Boy failed in his commitment to Poseidon due to unknown reasons. So obviously, the intended mission was to get everyone on the surface on it.
But so why? I guess with that, because I've heard that before. Joy Boy specifically leaves an apology for the fishmen.
Yeah.
But if Noah's intended purpose was for
humans.
humans, why would he be apologizing to the fishermen?
It's so confusing because I always thought like, why do the fishermen need Noah in the first place? And then I just kind of like Occam's razored it, and I was like, well, I guess it's the same reason we need like cars and like planes. Like we have like luggage and shit. So like,
Because Noah is, it's like roughly the same size or like slightly bigger than Fishman Island, isn't it? Because when they were about to collide, they were like, yeah, Noah's going to destroy the entirety of Fishman Island.
yeah,
I mean, it could house all of Fishman Island if needed. But I don't see a point in that either.
I hate that like we're probably missing one small thing, like because this flooding thing was almost obvious too. Like I hate that's my biggest pet peeve, and not with Oda, but with like me, where like every time Oda reveals something, I'm mad because I'm like, I could have figured that out, but I couldn't though because I didn't.
Put these last two pieces together. You got me.
Like Jesus Christ. What did you say you thought those things in the Floridian Triangle were again?
Continent pullers.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we have not gotten. We got Oars. We got
What if
Oars
there's
Junior.
a situation like fucking Impel Down, where like there's a secret location because over 100 ships disappear every year in the Floridian Triangle and often found later without their crews. What if it's a situation where like it's like level 6.5 or what was it 5.5, where like they're being taken to like some secret like island or country?
Could be possible, like the whatever unidentified things we saw there. If they're taking
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
definitely possible.
Because the entire crew is gone. It's just the ships. And obviously you're gonna think like, oh, something bad happened to them, but what if something good happened to them?
There's gotta be something specific because they left Moria alone. Or
Mhm. Maybe they knew that like not to fuck with him and that he would ruin their like paradise or like their Elysium or whatever.
but if your goal was to gather people,
Mm-hmm.
then this dude whose power specifically is good at building a
Making
large amount
army.
of people,
Yeah, you're right.
that would be like he's in front of your door. You could just pick him up and you would have like an infinite of whatever you're trying to do. But they leave him there. And we know that they're looking at him because we see them staring at like Thriller Bark, don't we? Like, isn't that kind of like the end of Thriller Bark? Because we literally see them looking at like Thriller Bark itself.
I'm looking at a picture right now and like we see like a red thing and they just look, honestly, they kind of remind me of like Emu's like hat thing with eyes.
Oh, I see the picture. Yeah, they do remind me of Emu.
Oh my, we're missing something.
We're always missing something.
Oh my god. But it like in a world that revolves around ships, like a flood isn't the worst thing. That so many people have ships. There's so many shipwrights.
Yeah, it's honestly a problem for normal people. The pirates are fine. Pirates are good.
But like, what if it creates worse versions of certain situations? Like we already know like places get like really bad weather. We already know places get really bad. Like we have like the calm belt and stuff, which I want to learn more about because I think that there is an unnatural force at work that makes it so that like this part of the sea is still, or maybe like underground there are a bunch of sea kings that are doing something to like stop the flow of traffic in a certain area. Like I still have suspicions that Shanks has like a secret method of transversing the world. Originally, I thought that his sword was going to be some kind of devil fruit sword that had like some kind of like either like weather devil fruit or um now that we know that I think only weapons can have Zoan ones, maybe it's a mythical Zoan that like can control like the weather. Like I've been thinking like, Griffin, kind of like the name, but like some kind of other animal that would allow him to use it, because there were several times. There was the time in the movie with what's her name, Uta,
Oh, film
where
red.
it looked like fire was coming from his sword, film red. And then there was the moment in Wano where it looks like wind was coming from his sword, and maybe he was also using that wind to carry his voice to what's the Green Bull.
Yeah, yeah. I did. So have we gotten 100% confirmation that none of Shanks's crew has a devil fruit? Has that been
No.
confirmed? Okay.
No, I feel like it is a shared delusion of the fan base.
Because I have always subscribed to the idea that Lucky Roo has either speed or enhanced movement type ability.
Okay.
That's what I've always considered gets Shanks around so fast, is that it's actually Lucky Roo doing it just for him.
Interesting.
And I have like no basis for that outside of the fact that he kind of had the title of Otis said that he was the fastest character that he had created, I think in the early versions of the story.
Oh, okay. In the early version, I was about to say.
In the early versions of the story.
Can I just say, I know it's a little off topic. Kizaru was the admiral I had the single most hype for, and I'm so disappointed because I was like, his powers are light. I was like, that's way better than magma.
Way better than magma.
I was thinking like they're gonna have like, I thought like a big part of like the plot would be trying to figure out how to fight him because he moves so fast, and then it just ended up being like Sanji and Luffy just moved that fast too, and I was like, oh okay.
I mean, I knew it was raps when they got to Egghead, and you're like, oh, look at these special light punching gloves. Huh? Wonder what these are used for. I
mean, to be fair, we never got to use. We still haven't used them.
We still got. I mean, I honestly think that Sanji's boots are made of the same stuff.
Oh,
because I don't think Sanji's kicking light.
But like, it's not. But if he's using hockey, it doesn't matter.
Because in that case, you would say that he would have to have the hockey to overcome Kizaru.
No, you don't have to have the hockey to overcome Kizaru. You just need hockey to touch him.
I guess I'm assuming that Kizaru put hockey in his attacks.
Okay,
if he's just launching normal light, maybe there's some credence. I also don't think Sanji's armament hockey is that strong, which is another problem. I think Sanji's go-to is observation. And his armament is good, but not kicking Kizaru Laser's level of good.
So my logic has always been like, I think Luffy is gonna have all S plus and everything. Zoro is gonna have like S and everything, S plus and maybe like armament, maybe possibly in Conquerors, and then Sanji also S and everything, but then S plus in observation. If that makes sense. So it's not a matter of like he's bad at armament, but like he's like his base is gonna be like great, and then in observation it's like goated.
I guess with Sanji specifically, he just hasn't been given good armament hockey feats.
Okay.
At least not any that I can think of.
All his durability is, and the thing that sucks is all his durability is going to be attributed to like the cyborgness now.
Yeah, it's like German genes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, can he use like hockey with that? Like coat himself at least a couple times because it really feels like he just doesn't use coating. And I'm like, are you out here with like base armament hockey fighting people? Like this,
Exactly.
we a
Exactly.
1,000 chapters in, you got to be doing more than that.
Oh, never mind. According to volume 4 billion, none of the current members of the crew have Doll Fruit. So yes, it has been confirmed.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Ain't it?
I
I have to
wonder.
read. I honestly am such a like failure of a fan because I do need to read that.
I remember if I. The problem is I've probably read it at some point, and then that
It
knowledge
was the
has
one I think they
seeped.
gave out. I think they gave it out during the release of the movie.
Like usually, whenever like Sandman will translate everything. And I just wait for that. Like I've read the. I think actually one of the questions you asked earlier was answered in one of like the law novels as to why
Which
he
one? Which
has
one?
a submarine.
Oh,
It came from the person who raised him was a type of like inventor creator that was
mhm.
kind of like his creation, and then Law
Okay.
took that up with his crew and used it. The thing is, I don't know if that's canon or not. I just know
Uh,
it exists as a Law novel.
okay. Wolf. Wolf the scientist.
Yeah.
Okay. I gotta start reading these peripheral stuff.
Yeah, there's so much.
I'm down for it though. I'm excited. I got like I gotta get back into the Ace novels.
Yeah, I
All
also
right.
get back to the
So
novels.
let's start wrapping this up. How for you has this changed your thoughts for the end of the series?
Uh, I mean, I've gone back and forth to where the end of the series is a big fight or the end of the series is finding One Piece. I think this has solidified me in thinking that the finding of the One Piece will not be the end of the series. I think there's a portion that comes after that that
I
will end
always
the
thought
series.
with that, but I always thought it had something to do with I just want to fit in space somewhere.
I mean,
I've always wanted,
I think it'll come
I
to play, but I don't know how big it'll come into play.
and it can't be too much because then like we would have like a whole like it's got to end soon, so like it would be a whole issue. But like I always thought it would come to play, but now one thing I definitely think is all these things that like people have been kind of annoyed about, where we have these end of the world scenario, these like big stake scenarios every arc, where like you had the bird cage, you have the island, you had what's going on with Egghead, the Buster Call, um just like so many of the major arcs, there was like a overlooming like if this doesn't happen, like we're screwed thing. I think that the final major stake will be like the flooding of the planet. Like that is the biggest stake we can have.
How how does that change? I guess my biggest question for this entire flooding thing:
Mhm.
how does that change our end goal to get the One Piece? Does One Piece being underwater make it unobtainable?
No, I don't think it changes anything because I originally always thought the One Piece was underwater, or at least like if it's not underwater, I thought it might be in the sky. But mainly, I always thought it was be underwater.
Okay. I recently saw someone else talk about that
Because
too.
where is this island? And so it might just be an island that only shows rears itself during certain tides. And then like we have the moon, and we have Luffy. If Luffy's the sun, Blackbeard's probably the moon, and Emu's probably the Earth, or like what we think is the Earth. And we know the moon has to do with tides.
That could be, that makes
So
sense. Something that's not
make
available at all points in time.
exactly. So But my only thing is like, why would Roger have been too early? He clearly got to Laugh-Tail, so like, I do think it is a situation where certain things align, planets align, and it does like create like maybe like a Moses thing and part of the sea, and that's when you can finally access that island.
Well, for in specifically, I think Roger was too early because we were missing Poseidon and Joy Boy.
Oh,
So,
he was late because he didn't have all the tools necessary.
right, everything wasn't pretty much lined up. They
Okay.
were still waiting on the two sovereigns to be born.
Okay.
And so now in this era, the idea is that we have all the pieces. We technically should be ready to engage whatever Joy Boy mentioned before.
Interesting. Yeah, so like I said, I don't know what the flood changes besides giving us a new DEFCON situation for Luffy. Also, part of me was wondering, like, is the flood good? Is that the original state of the world? I don't think it could be the original state of the world. Something, maybe the flood is Joy Boy's fault. I can't think of it. I keep wondering, like, the red line. Is it supposed to act as a dam? Like, it's super confusing what's going on. What will the destruction of the red line do? If everything floods, don't we get the all blue that like we kind of thought we needed or wanted? Um,
No one wants the all blue.
no, and you don't, and I guess you don't care because fuck science. No one wants the all blue. um, but yeah, it has me so lost, and like it doesn't make sense to me. Like I don't think the current state of the world ever was that it was. Where did all this water come from?
That's a good point.
Maybe it's Emu. Maybe it literally is Emu. He controls water, and he is intentionally like using his powers 24/7 to like flood the planet. Like, and he's almost there.
You know, that's a question I had. I think when I was first reading, and I got to Water 7, and I was like, why is there so much water everywhere? Why are there just chunks of islands here and there and just a ton of water? Like what's wrong with this planet?
I just thought that was the planet. Like that. That's why I thought cause and effect, right? I thought because of all the pirates and like the world government and everything was because the world is like this, which led to there being issues with having a centralized government. Because you're gonna have all these eclectic, unique islands that all have different wants and desires. But like now it might be the flip, the like reverse, and it just goes to show that no matter what you try to do, there's always going to be rebellion. And so like maybe you flooded this place to start over, but all it did was like you created pirates now because like okay, we're just gonna go off, we're gonna create these floating vessels and go off and still do what we want to do just on these floating vessels now you actually enabled us to have more freedom.
Basically, like you gave us the push and power to make us who we are.
Yeah, now we can actually it's a lot easier to transverse on these ships than it was. I don't know but like I can't wait to see this ancient city. I wonder if it's Atlantis. I wonder what ancient technology we're gonna go. I wonder if we find out if like humans are actually like the first beings, or maybe it was automaton in the first place. What if we have something weird like Dr. Stone and like they're just fucking like aliens, like or we have a Prometheus moment where like humans are just fucking experiments, but it doesn't matter. Like Vegapunk was saying, it doesn't matter that there's a god or not a god. You're alive, and therefore just do what you want with that. Maybe it's all a metaphor for like us. Like don't worry about your creator, just worry about the fact that like you're here and you can do whatever you want while you're here. I don't know.
That last one specifically would stick to the kind of the overarching ideal of One Piece, where it's like freedom to do what you want.
Exactly. Because like I said, I'm perpetually stuck on why Vegapunk is making such a big deal about like the clones being undeniably human.
Like I would,
Not, yeah, go ahead.
I as much as I like the reveal of the ocean sinking, I
Mhm.
need Vegapunk to give me something on Void Century.
Yes, same.
Like I
I did not
need it.
think that's what it was gonna be. I thought it was gonna be like there used to be an ancient kingdom. I thought it would end with there used to be an ancient kingdom called
Yeah, like get a name drop or something.
named Dawn, and then and then next chapter.
I read the world's gonna sink in the ocean. I was like, oh, okay, that's
No, that blew me away. It did blow me away. I did immediately was like, that is big news. But
yeah.
I also was like, I hope we get other stuff too.
I was just like, that's so not what I thought you would say.
Not at all. But I'm very nervous that this is gonna be like the Devil Fruits again, where like that was the announcement though.
I
So like we are no closer to understanding the Devil Fruits than we were. Like they're from Desire, and like at first all of us were like, oh my god, blah blah blah. But like in actuality, are we any closer to understanding anything?
no, still farther from the point.
Yeah,
I have less
yeah, like
information on.
yeah, we're like at first that reveal was super like oh my god, but like in hindsight, like we are no closer, no closer.
I hope Oda doesn't troll us and just leave us with the sinking and then kind of like monologuing for a bit.
If he doesn't talk about the ancient kingdom, I'm gonna lose. I'm gonna flip. I'm gonna flip
I
my.
need it.
I
And
I I I need because there's a handful of things I was like disappointed about. Like I was super upset that the whole Egghead Island arc started with the premise that like you can't stop something's nature, and then like the whole pacifista thing was resolved by like Bonnie giving an order, and that kind of pissed me off because I was kind of hoping it was going to be a situation where because all of the cyborgs are clones of
they're all Kumas.
they're all clones of Kuma, they would all have his lineage factor and would all have his love for Bonnie, and would just like not try to kill her. And I thought it would be like an illusion, alluding back to that scene earlier where Bonnie is about to get blasted by a pacifista, and like Luffy has to save her, and and they're just like, yo, just like that's not your dad, just like kill him. And it would have worked out that like she didn't kill him or she didn't attack it because it turns out like they're like all her dad in a way.
Yeah, that
And
familiar bond extends to every single clone because they're
and
all
it makes me
Kumas.
really sad that like that's not at all what happened. They were really about to blow her up if she didn't give that command.
That is
like
kind of
they
crazy.
really, say it.
That is kind of crazy.
I was I was like, so what was the so I hate when like I don't want to overread into things, but I also like don't want to underread into things. And I felt like I was picking up all these clues for O to be like, nah, no.
I mean, that was my theory, especially when because Vegapunk has a moment specifically where he says, "Oh, I guess these Seraphim carry parts of the original, like
with
personalities of the original."
I thought that was what the whole point of fucking what's her name, Boa Hancock's Seraphim, like
Yeah. So like
helping Luffy.
the one thing, like I still have some merit in. I think S-Bear is going to do what you just said, where
Okay.
if they have an interaction, she will be able to convince S-Bear based solely on like
need to convince S-Bear of anything though, which like she wouldn't even need to convince him.
that's the thing is I don't know if because technically speaking, if Vegapunk did what he did, he would also have installed that control in S-Bear.
Mm.
But if he didn't, I could see the whole lineage factor come into play. It would be a good way to bring it back, but it would also make things slightly more confusing. Because why did you do it that way?
Yeah, so yeah, confused. Super confusing. I don't want to be that guy where if something didn't happen because I wanted it to, like it's bad, but like I'm sure he has plans, but like I just feel like you really built up this whole like thing with them. finish it.
Yeah, it's like give me the rest. You
Because I mean,
started
like,
this.
I make theories all the time. I used to talk to you about like how it was sad and Wano, like X, Y, Z didn't happen, Lick and I, or didn't become more important. We didn't learn anything about poneglyphs. We didn't learn anything about like more of like this the stuff that the Sakazuki, like this the Kazuki clan was doing. There's a really cool theory that like instead of cola, Frankie might use green blood, and like I think that's awesome. But like based upon what's happening, I don't think that's going to happen at all. I was what else? Something else happened on like Egghead that like I was super eager about. Like I thought like I just thought more stuff would happen with like punk records. And I thought like what else? What else? What else? I just thought there was like so much stuff that I was excited for that I'm like, I don't like Vegapunk would give them like upgrades to like like you know
I wanted Vegapunk and Frankie to have like a one-on-one
yes.
inventors, creators,
Yes.
scientific experiment type deal. Vegapunk's
Yep.
dead. What am I supposed to do with that? What
Well,
they killed
dead though? Is he dead though? Because his brain is there. And I always was asking myself that Apple thing, is it just a receiver?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's just like the receipt. But I guess I wanted it to be OG Vegapunk. I wanted him to like meet this person that he's known about since he went to Vegapunk's homeland and like kind of solve his research and stuff. I wanted him to talk face to face more with the man in the chair, like the one true Vegapunk. If he gets it from Lilith, I'm like, okay, cool, but you're a copy. I wanted OG.
I hope he became sentient AI. Like
I feel like he was alluding to that. Basically, he wanted to turn his brain into something that could be used universally, which is basically himself. So he wanted to be Jarvis. Like that's
yeah. I also don't get how the backups work. Like, what do they know and don't know? And I guess they can hold back. Like, how did York go so long without like just this happening? How come she doesn't know like where these certain things are hidden? Also, why wasn't she like in the video? The Stella is there, and also isn't the what's the mini one?
Edison and
Edison and
Pythagoras
Stella
are in
were
there.
there, right? Oh, Pythagoras was there too.
Yeah, I think Pythagoras is in the back.
How come she wasn't part of this meeting or video?
That's a good question. It does seem like there are specific pieces of information that not all of them, like Shaka specifically seems to have a relationship with Dragon that the other ones don't really show.
Yeah.
So it's like each one seems to have their own little like mini personality stacked onto Vegapunk's. Which comes with like different knowledge here and there. And clearly they don't share everything because York doesn't know anything. No one knew about York. Just that and the other, so.
Yep. Oh, all right. Think we have talked about everything there is to fucking talk about, man.
That part is we haven't.
I mean, for us, like, I'm so mad because I know like the techings out there and certain other people are like probably like I know that there's things I'm missing and I'm sad about it, but like I'll figure it out later.
Some point.
At some point, like I might. I don't have the time, but I low key want to do a reread, man.
I mean, I think it's.
I want to do a reread.
I usually do 2 rereads a year. I can fit it in.
Yo, I respect the shit out you. Back when I was like younger, I'm talking like high school, I used to reread One Piece just on whims.
Just whenever you could.
But like I have not done that in a decade. Like I've reread like and I've recently like rewatched it with my girl, but like I had been for the longest ever since I decided to start doing this content creation, I said I was gonna like I wanted to sit down and like with a pen and paper and go through it. And I tried that, could not. I am not that kind of guy. I am not that kind of guy. Like if I'm gonna read it, I'm gonna read it to enjoy.
That's I had that thought for like 10 seconds and I was like, that doesn't sound fun. I'm not gonna do that.
I'm going to tell you right now, like fucking reading One Piece as like a fucking like notation experience.
Nope, I'm not. I'm about to take
And, it, and
notes
it's so
on
and it's such a
1,000
slog
chapters.
too. It's such a slog too because Oda like puts stuff in the background. He like does certain things, so you're not just like reading it. You're like reading and like analyzing the panel, reading and analyzing. And so like I'm just like yeah, no, I'm not the one. I shout outs to all the people who are the one though.
Y'all got that. Y'all got that. I will read for
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, y'all got that. And when y'all make your videos, I'll check them out, and then I'll, revamp them, maybe review those
We'll do
chapters.
notations on your notations.
Yes, there you go. We'd love to see it. All right, so yeah, man, the world of One Piece is flooding. This changes the game. How so? We don't have enough information to know. I think this reinforces the fact that like we know Oda likes to do microcosm. So I think Wano and Jaya are just gonna be just versions of like what the One Piece is. By the way, with the Shanks thing, I forgot to tell you the other thing I thought with how he was getting around so quickly. I'm wondering if there's like underwater like channels or canals that he uses. But his ship doesn't seem very like it could go underwater, but I don't know, maybe they have their own coding thing. Who the hell
I'm saying, you might just have
knows?
like someone on there that just knows they're in the know about coding.
I mean, we also have like Boa Hancock who has snakes pull her around. Like Shanks does seem like the kind of dude to have the pull to like have some kind of like sea monster on deck. Like, oh, I forgot that like or way early in the series, like almost everyone had some giant sea monster. Like Arlong had like the one cow, and then we had like the Kraken earlier, and like so like it's not out of the and like we had the octopus to help us like float to like
Yeah.
so we've seen repeatedly throughout the series like animals used for like to assist or direct vehicles for transportation. I'm wondering why the teleportation of Delfruit was so important for Blackbeard to get his hands on.
I mean, it's. I think there's more potential coming from that fruit, I guess.
Exactly, like how far it can reach. I want to know if the throwaway line about like I'm still working on my power, if that's just for us, if that's just about like distancing, if that's going to be something that rears its head against Usopp and Usopp finds out like a weakness of it. Um, Yeah, man, this shit is crazy. Hey, what's your name stole Saturn's ability before or after Joribani took control over the Pacifista?
Before, I
Because I love
believe
to
she
say,
got it after Kuma punched him.
okay, because I was going to say sorry. I was gonna say that's the face that they need.
I mean, yeah,
Like that's the face that they need. So
that technically does make way more sense. Had they known that, they probably would have. And what's also crazy is that I don't know if she had her fruit then, but at some point, Blackbeard had Bonnie. He had that power in his hands, but he gave it to
yeah,
the
he
government.
did. He did. Yo, he's kicking him. Yo, he is kicking
He is
himself right. I
punching
didn't
air
even
right
think
now.
about that. Yo, I didn't even think about that. He literally had the key to all the pacifista, like and Seraphim.
He could have had
Yo.
crazy power.
Also, like, what does he need to be a king for? Like, what will do you think that the leaders actually no, there's no way in hell. Like, the people at the reverie wouldn't know. Never mind. I was gonna say, do you think they know about the flood? And there's no way in hell. Like, if Vivi knew, we'd know.
Yeah, I think no one has known since Vivi's ancestor. After that, they're like literal politicians of their world. They know about the policies, they know about money, economics, that kind of stuff. They don't know any actual like
And it makes a lot of
critical
sense
stuff.
why the Celestials all have the quote unquote spacesuits, the bubbles. Like we were thinking,
Yeah,
but But actually, not really, because if they're at the top, why would they?
I mean, they could function both ways.
Yeah, just as a countermeasure. My brain hurts. My brain hurts. All right, let's let's close up shop. So, like I was saying before, World of One Piece, drowning, going underwater. What does it mean? What do you guys think it means? Did we miss anything? Be sure to check me out. My YouTube is Otaku Talk OD, spelled just like that, Otaku Talk OD. I release every week. Sometimes I miss a couple, but for the most part, I'm pretty consistent. I review every single chapter every week, and sometimes I stream. I'm not strong with my streaming, but sometimes if I want to talk about something, I'll stream about it. Other times I'll be playing like League of Legends, Genshin, stuff like that. So you can find me on my Twitch at Nija Nightmare 93. And that's all. That's all I really got. This has been League of Otaku. And I will let Tyrant King Kuma sign himself out.
I am the Tyrant King. You can find me on YouTube at Tyrant King Kuma, or you can find me at Blerded Out, which is a side podcast thing I'm kind of doing, where it's more than just a One Piece. Basically, the main channel is like all One Piece, and then the podcast is a bit more variety. I don't stream. I do play League. I used to stream League. I no longer do that.
Man. Poor man. Terrible game.
Terrible, but I can't stop playing it.
Yep. Yeah, addicting. All right, guys. Well, it's been real. It's been fun. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we have a lot more to talk about, a lot more in store. And if there's anything you guys ever want to see, or if you want us to do this again, just let me know. Anyway, take care, peace, and bye. Please make sure to like, share, subscribe. Please follow me and follow Kuma. Take care and peace.
Deuces.